Welcome back to the Realm of Unpopular Opinions. It is time for the last tag of the year, or at least I think the last tag of the year. November is my favorite month. I haven't had the weather that I wanted in November for ages, essentially because November is still an autumn month. But since I haven't had autumn except for those few weeks in September, October was miserable, and now it's already icy cold winter. November is still my favorite month because I do love winter and it is my favorite season, and I'm very happy that it's cold enough for me to wear the blanket and to just feel so frozen. I love winter and I'm so happy it's finally here. I did used to like November for its autumnalness. It used to rain, there used to be winds, like the trees are still losing their leaves, but as it's looking currently, in a few days, it might already be snow, even though it's still November. So let's just get into it. These are the books that I want to finish by the end of the year and books that I maybe potentially want to read and start and finish by the end of the year. This is a very loose plan because who knows what's going to happen. I'm back at university, and this time I'm going every day, and I always have something to do. So it could both be a good and bad thing that I am this busy again, because I feel like reading is way more interesting to me when I have other things to do that I need distracting from. So let's just get into it. I don't want to dawdle every single time that I make a video, and I say this also every time. So let's just get into it. Let's get going with the first question. Have you started any books that you need to finish? Yes. Is there ever I know as an answer to this. Now, for most of this year, I've had like 7 books in my currently reading tab in Goodreads, and we have started to fix that. Me, myself, and I have started to fix that, but it is still not quite what I would like it to be. So let's just get started. Okay, Rebecca, am I going to finish this? Is the question of the year. Because I would like to be rid of it. But at the same time, every time that I look at it, I do not want to read it. And I am immediately not in the mood for anything else that day. Because, as I've said many times before, I'm just so bored by this writing style that I don't know if I can handle it. Maybe I will skim through it just to make sure if the book is like the adaptation, because that was the only reason that I bought the book in the first place. So maybe I will do my best. I do not want to see this book again in the new year, so maybe I will put in effort, like just skim through 50 pages a day just so I can finish it. But that's not a good entry to this list. Let's just move on. I'm trying to see if my tabs have gotten messed up. I've continued Gormenghast. I am currently on book 2, which is called Gormenghast. Annotating, as you can see where I am. Large book. I don't know if I will finish this entire thing because, again, I have technically finished one book because it finished Titus Grown, which is one singular book, but since I have them in this edition, it's counting as one large book, even though it is called the Gormenghast trilogy. So I want to at least finish book 2 by the end of the year. I don't know about book 3. Maybe if I'm really into book 2, I will just, push forwards and read the final one as well. But I don't know. After the first one, I actually found it fairly okay to stop. So it depends. If you're someone who's read this, just let me know if I'm going to have to read book 3 immediately after book 2. But I have heard bad things about book 3, and I'm already a little bit wary of that. Now, the last book, I don't know if I will finish it because it's my intention to read it slowly, but this is my favorite thing that I've bought this year, and it is a great book of King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table by John Matthews. I'm going to try and hold the mic because this is a very, very heavy book to hold up, but I love King Arthur, as you maybe know if you've been here for a while. This is a hardcover, beautiful, lovely, illustrated edition by John Howe, who illustrated Lord of the Rings and Lord of the Rings concept art and pretty much everything to do with Tolkien. If there's specific illustrations, it's usually John Howe. It's a beautiful book. Okay, it's just a beautiful, beautiful book, and I'm so happy I found it at the price that I did. Momox Germany, love of my life. Genuinely, I found it like I think for 16 euros, which is a steal. It's a beautiful book for the illustrations and everything, but as I love King Arthur and Merlin and Celtic mythology, this is my favorite myth of all time. Like, if you were to ask me my favorite legend, my favorite mythological kingdom, king, era, or whatever in terms of myths and legends, this would be it. King Arthur. So I am reading this actually, like, cover to cover. I'm reading, I think, a story or two a day. I have skipped a few days because I just didn't feel like lugging around the hardcover when I was a little bit miserable, but I try and read at least a story a day. So I might finish it by the end of the year. I don't know how much I've already read. I think a decent chunk, actually, like over 100 pages. It's a beautiful book. It's a beautiful book. This is my cherished possession of this year, and I'm so happy that I got it because it means so much to me. I was just so happy when I got it that I started flipping through the illustrations and just showing them off, and this makes me so happy. He is, I think, a very famous Arthurian historian because he worked on King Arthur, the Clive Owen version that I think I've already talked about in my Clive Owen part of the film and TV video. I think he worked on many, many, many parts of that specific culture. I think he also has a book of Merlin. I think he has Celtic stuff. I think he has dragon stuff. But in any case, this doesn't have, like, I don't think even 100 ratings on Goodreads. But frankly, that has nothing to do with me because it made me so happy to read. And this is essentially like, again, I'm not pronouncing it, but the Thomas Malory book from the 15th century or whatever. He is, I think, not retelling it, but filling in the gaps. He's doing the stories that Thomas Malory didn't put in his book. And he's making it so readable because he's writing it in a modern style. I love the voice in it. I love how it's being told. And I love it so much. And this is my cherished possession now. And I don't know if I will finish it this year, but I will certainly endeavor to because I just want to, okay? It just means really a lot to me. So those are the things that I want to finish that I've already started. Now let's look into the things that I haven't started yet. There's also a question that's like, is there an autumnal read to transition you into the end of the year? Again, as I've said in the beginning of the video, it isn't autumn here anymore. And I've already kind of put myself into a winter mood. Like, I'm crossing my fingers for snow any day now. So I'm just not in that mood anymore. And as we've already kind of established, I'm not that much of a seasonal reader. Like, I will read more as soon as it's cold because I will have the will to live again. But it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to read something very specific. So there's no point to that question anyway. The next question is there a new release you're still looking forward to now? It is with deep regret that I say this, but Lightfall, the box set of graphic novels. I was eyeing that all month. It's supposed to come out, I think, in a few days. And its price was 35 euros. Like, if I bought them individually, they would cost 48. The price is currently 48. Okay. That is worth nothing. Essentially, that is the same price as if I bought them all individually. What's the point of a box set if it costs the same amount of money as if I bought each volume individually? So there's no point to this. I'm either waiting for the price to drop or for it to come out and for other like antique shops to sell me used copies because I'm not paying the full price. This was a great deal, this box set, when it wasn't the price of all 3 volumes individually. So I was looking forward to this release, but then I wasn't anymore. The next thing that I bought and I'm anxiously awaiting for, it's no longer a new release, but it is to me because I haven't got it in my hands yet, is Natsume's Book of Friends Volume 30. No one's uploading Natsume online, okay? There are a few of those manga that just no one's translating online because they don't have like an active audience or whatever. So I can only read these when they come out, and when I physically get the copy. I ordered it like before it came out. I pre-ordered it immediately. Whenever it gets into my hands, I cannot wait to read it. Volume 29, I think I ordered for my birthday, so it's been a decent amount of time now. And since I'm currently watching Natsume every week and enjoying it, like, it genuinely makes my week when those episodes come out. I cannot wait for the new volume. I don't know what to expect because it isn't a story that continues. So whatever Yuki Midorikawa decides to grace my day with, I can't wait for it to get here. And the last thing that I have read, so I don't know if it counts, but it is a new release that I will be buying in December, is Noragami Volume 27. With Volume 27, my collection will be complete, and maybe eventually I will give it another try, even though I have bitched a little bit about the ending in one of the last few videos. I do not remember which one, but yeah, this is essentially the volume that made me a little bit annoyed about the entirety of the series, so I'm not that looking forward to its release. But yeah, I will be buying it and I will be completing my collection. So those are the releases that I'm looking forward to. Now let's get into the next question. The next question is a funny one, so let's just answer it very quickly. Could a book still surprise you and be a favorite? Obviously. Obviously, yes. I don't know who says no to this. Unless you, read a book that couldn't be topped. Like, if you had asked me this last year when I read Nausicaa, then I would have said no. But I'm still not sure what my favorite book that I've read this year is. Because I feel like the entirety of the hot season is a blur, and I do not want to remember it. So I feel like I've blocked everything out. I think it is still a Heather Fawcett book, but it's been so long since I read them that I feel like it's been 30 years. I don't know why I'm yawning that much. I think it's because I turned the heating on and immediately I feel like yawning. But yeah, I think it's a Heather Fawcett book. But yeah, I could be surprised. I obviously could be surprised. I'm reading Gormagast. I'm reading King Arthur. There's several other books that I will show you. There's several books that I've ordered. Very possible that I will still be surprised. And there will be something even better than Heather Fawcett, because I think that is still one of my favorite books that I've read this year. Again, I've blocked out all of the months where I was hot, so difficult to say. Reading plans for 2025, I don't have any of those, so let's just make this question books that you still want to read by the end of the year. Now, I've ordered a few books that just refuse to arrive. What else is new, frankly, on in online space? I never get books on time, and when I do, apparently it's a fluke. But I've ordered a few books and I do plan to read those, but I'm not going to talk about them now. I need to turn off the heating because my brain's immediately like, let's go to sleep, even though I'm going to sleep in like 8 hours. Anyway, I have 2 books left of the Little Black Classics. I have a few of them in ebook form, but in terms of physical, I have Flushberry, Virginia Woolf, and Anecdotes of the Cynics. I will be finishing both of those very soon, like within a few days. I'm just not sure if I want to finish the physical ones first or the digital ones first, but it takes me 30 years to read the digital ones. I just hate reading ebooks, and it takes a specific kind of book to actually hook me into finishing an ebook, and that's usually Heather Fawcett, which I've now realized I've actually read all of the Heather Fawcett books as ebooks, except for Emily Wilde, which is the only one that I didn't like, which is kind of ironic. But other books that I plan to read, and by plan to read, I mean they're in the chair where I keep the books that I want to read. This has been on there for months. For months, Master and Margarita. I didn't want to read a translation of this because I already said for Slavic languages in particular, since I speak a Slavic language, that's my native language. I like reading translations of like Russian and any kind of other Slavic language. I like reading in translation, but I wouldn't mind reading this in English because it's such a pretty edition that my parents had on like a random ass shelf. You might not think it's pretty, but it has like yellowed pages because it's really, really old, and it has wonderful, like thick inky font. Let me show you. A very, very thick inky font, and I love that. So I might read it in this edition. I'm just not sure if that will happen in 2024. I just put it at my at my bedside because I really felt like it when I picked it up, but I only now actually dug it out of that pile to do this video, so who knows. the thing that did draw me in is that it says Gogolesque tradition of satiric narrative. As we know, that could count as one of my favorite authors of the year, definitely. And that's the next one that I'm going to be talking about. It is Nikolai Gogol. Love of my life. I love that man. I bought, I think, almost all of his main works and all of them, again, in translation because he is so funny. Like the translator that does this, or rather that did these translations in 1969, fantastic, like fantastic translations. It is so funny. Now, these are like, what would you call this in English? Madman's notebooks or something like that. I think I read the main story in this, which is Madman's diary, but I haven't read the others, so I want to finish this collection. But anything to do with Gogol, I'm always up for. So when I saw that thing that Master and Margarita has a humor that's similar to that, I was like, I mean, yeah, I'm probably gonna read it. Also, since I went, as I already said before, I think to a language high school, we extensively read Russians. I think we've read all the main Russians and their main works. So Bulgakov might actually be one of the last ones that I haven't read anything by. The next two books, I mean, I've spoken about this. The second, Emily Wilde. Do I care about this book? No. Despite it being Heather Fawcett, I haven't picked it up yet, and that's just because I didn't like the first one. So while this is unspeakably beautiful as far as books go, beautiful, I don't care. I really, really don't care about them. Maybe because it's set in the Alps and now it's going to be winter. So maybe while it's snowing, I'll just pick this up and read it like in one sitting or something. But it's a beautiful book. I just don't know if I want my last Heather Fawcett of the year to be something that I'm not going to like. And the last thing, and I've already spoken about this as well, is Silver Tongue by Charlie Fletcher. I recently, finally, after a year, finished Iron Hand. Iron Hand. I'm never sure if it's Iron Hand or Iron Heart. Iron Hand. And I loved it. Loved it. I loved the series when I was a kid, but I do remember being bored by this. But again, I was a kid. I don't think I appreciated book 2 as much either when I was young because I loved book 2 this time. It's actually very dark for a middle grade and quite nuanced. So I have high hopes for this. But those are all the things I want to read by the end of the year. Am I going to? Oh, there's also one more book that I forgot. And it is, what is it called? Fire Endless. Yeah, I put that in my backpack so I can like read it while I commute to university. I have not picked it up once. It falls into the category, just like Emily Wilde, where I read the first book, found it fine. I loved the writing style, obviously, because I picked up the rest of Heather Fawcett's books, but I cannot get myself to care. Every time I look at it, I'm like, I'm just so deeply uninterested in anything going on in the book. But I bought it. And it's a duology, and I will read it. You might think it's stupid for me to constantly be like, I bought it, so I am going to read it. It's not like I can't DNF it, but I don't buy a lot of books that I'm uncertain about. Like I do that very rarely, actually. So when I do like take a risk and buy, let's say, a sequel that I didn't really know if I wanted to read or not, because I bought it, I will read it. Like I will. There's nothing I deeply have against this book, which is why I bought it. I just don't care about it. So I will force myself to read it. But maybe not this year. Maybe next year. We'll see. I don't really care, frankly, when I read it because I do not care about the book at all. So, yeah, this was an interesting video, but those are my plans for the rest of the year. I want to start actually doing vlogs. Yes, I'm now in university and there's things to do and I'm a little bit busy, but I do want to start just actually talking about the things that I'm reading in my favorite season because I love winter so much. I love being under a blanket, drinking tea, and picking up a book in the time between having to do work and having to cook meals and whatever. I love it so much. And I want to go back to making videos. So maybe I will just make a vlog diary thing of like, I don't know, winter diaries, winter reading, or whatever, because it is my favorite season. And it seems that I am finally at the cusp of it, even though it is it is November. But yeah, I will see you in the next video.